Minister of Finance gives his views on the recent marches and protests by the various unions. Prime Minister gives an elucidation on issues of concern. But first up, unions meet with members of Parliament. Those are the headlines for Wednesday, June the 24th, 2020. And this is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thanking you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, members of Parliament met with the United Unions earlier this afternoon to ascertain whether they will be getting their salaries and or vacation pay. President of the White Group, Claire Elshot, spoke to our news team. Also in attendance at the meeting was MPs Claudius Van Camper, Melissa Gums, Angelique Remou, William Marlin, Keisha Heiliger Martin, Akeem Arundel, and President of Parliament, Mr. Rolando Bryson.
One of you to join us by the Little League as we inform you what the next step is. Okay? I want to inform you what the next step is because we ain't done. We ain't done.
As you can see, hear, and feel, we got finally we got our air, and our grievances have been put forward in Parliament, and they know exactly what is our grievance, and the fact that there's no agreement. Basically, that was clearly explained because we have two movements here. We have the Windward Island Chamber of Labor Union, and that is, incorporates all the unions, private and public sector, but we also have the unions that are for civil servants. And in that respect, via the CCSU, there were correspondence back and forth, and the disrespect of the whole matter of not getting the information or corresponding back or answering to our queries on when, how, and where would the vacation pay be paid. That is one aspect. In addition, there are other measures that have never been discussed. So the communication and the fact that we could clearly outline to the members of Parliament, because the impression that is being created in the media is that there is an agreement, and therefore this impression is also creating a lot of tension and confusion under our membership. So we clearly split and had this really explained, and even the fact, where do we go from here? Who is responsible? What would we do if by the end of the month the monies don't come for financial aid and they cannot pay? What would the unions do? We came up exactly with what is our rights. Our rights as citizens of the kingdom and of St. Martin, Aruba, and Curacao being in this position. We came up and we answered to the best of our ability.
We had a meeting with about 4 members of Parliament, and we explained.
Six.
Sorry, you helped me out. Thanks.
Six.
No problem. So we explained where we are at in terms of these discussions. We rolled out a timeline, letting them know that instead of returning a letter to the unions, they've only been communicated via all the time. All we wanted to know is when we're getting paid. That's all. We want to finalize this thing. Of course, they listened, they asked their questions and so forth and so on. They're going to have a follow-up meeting this afternoon with the government. And based on that, we're going to hear what they have to say. But this ain't finished. This ain't finished. I also want to point out what we also mentioned was that we are going to take record of every worker that received a warning letter, that was harassed, that is suffering from intimidation, to report it to their union, because we're bringing it back to Parliament. It cannot be that when we finally start to exercise our rights, they look for a big belt, a small belt, a middle-sized belt to try and lash us. Those days done. Those days are done. All right? So at this point, we are waiting, but we ain't waiting passively, because we ain't done. We ain't done. As we said earlier, because I really want to commend them. At least they came downstairs. Yes. Unlike others. Yes. Unlike others who chose to remain in their ivory towers and look down at their disobedient subjects. Okay? At least they came down. And we appreciate that. Okay? Today, I overheard in the Council of Ministers press briefing about if the unions them want to talk, they open to something to that effect, or you correct me. Yeah. But we are saying we don't do things like that. We sent you a letter, respond. Stand by your word, respond. Okay? That's all we asking for. We ain't dealing with this thing through media. We ain't negotiating in the media. We negotiate around the table. As far as we're concerned, the laws of St. Martin still apply. Listen carefully. At this point, the laws of St. Martin still apply. So we're standing on that ground. We are going to stand on that ground. So again, as we said this morning, we get in reactions now because of our you.
First of all, indeed, today the relevant ministers on this issue are going to be with us in Parliament. You'll be able to follow that meeting. Of course, like I said, unfortunately, I can't fit everyone in Parliament right now, but you'll be able to follow the discussion online. The relevant ministers have been told, listen, these are the issues, come prepared to answer that. Some of the issues related to the SSRP are tied to this as well, because it's tied to this whole thing about the Dutch conditions and so on. Regarding those conditions, I've reached out to the chairman of the Committee for Kingdom Relations in the Tweede Kamer, Mr. Jan Paternotte. I have reached out to him to immediately, as soon as possible, also hear from the unions, so that they can get the perspective from all of you that it's not just the St. Martin politicians telling Holland, this is wrong what you're doing. Because they keep coming across like it's the politicians. We don't want to take the cut. We took the cuts. We did everything. But we're saying how far you want to take this. Parliament motion was very clear. You have to discuss with the unions was point 4. Point 5 was you must comply with local laws. We expressed that to them and they're still not listening. Based on what I heard, your very good representative said today, this message needs to go not via me, but directly to the second chamber so that they can hear everything that is happening today. So we will be facilitating that. Also, with regards to the SSRP, this more applies, I guess, to the other unions that are represented. An amendment is being made to show, for the private representation and semi-private as well, because you know that affects as well, to show the names and the percentage amount these companies have received, so that it can no longer be the case that, well, I didn't get nothing, so you can't get paid. No, that is going to be changed because the law doesn't allow it now. But I got a commitment from the Minister of VSA and Finance today that is being worked on and will be done top priority. You'll hear that in the meeting as well.
What we want to know, when they get in their money.
Tomorrow the 25th.
That's one. And we need to know how is it going to be done. Because remember, there's a letter circulating to civil servants, but the template with all the calculations, according to many, is not adding up. So there is a concern that they won't even see the vacation allowance if it takes a particular structure, Mr. Chairman.
I can
So
tell
we
you,
need a definite.
this will probably be the first question posed to the minister today.
Good.
As soon as the meeting opens, when
When,
we were up there,
how,
all the
everything.
different members had the same question. What going on tomorrow? Like somebody mentioned, this is supposed to be tomorrow. What do you expect on your play slip? That is going to be very clear before the end of this meeting.
With all of this, what's going on right now, a lot of people, we have our children, we have rent, we have a lot of things, everything going up and our salary cutting. Why is that? You understand? We salary shouldn't be cutting and things going up. You're going to shops, different price there, bread $1.50, a bread $2. No, we can't live like this. You understand? We can't be slaving for justice and then we getting paid like nothing. We getting treated like this. We can't. It's enough is enough. You understand? Enough is enough. And this is tiring. This is going on too long and people with their mouth shut, people staying quiet, you're getting threatened. Oh, if you don't do this, you're this for your job. No, you're this for your, remember you're this. No, we cannot anymore. It's enough is enough. We're not living proper. Rent going up. And our salary staying the same way. We scales, ain't supposed to be.
Put us in the right scale.
Put us in the right scale. Do what we are called to do.
And still to come, member of the WICUA, Jules Carty, confirms the resignation of the medical center's CFO. You'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
After 2 days of manifestation and the call for the resignation of the CFO by the members of the Windward Islands Healthcare Workers Union at the St. Martin Medical Center, which was in protest of the treatment of a member of the Finance Department by the Chief Financial Officer, Marco Merleman, the CFO has resigned his position at the medical center. Member of the Windward Islands Healthcare Workers Union, Mr. Jules Carty, confirmed his resignation and he spoke to our news department.
What we do know is that we have been expressing these concerns for some time in writing as well. And finally nothing happened. So with all the threats that was coming from the CFO in question, intimidating and bullying a particular staff. But not only that staff, there were other staff that he was not treating the staff according to proper labor, protocols. So we decided to hit the road on Monday, and we kept the pressure up. And even during the meeting, we pointed out all of the things that should have gone different. And in the middle of the meeting, to our pleasant, I wouldn't say surprise, but we were happy to know that this man has tendered his resignation.
Wait. The police here? Hey, officers, I think we deserve a victory lap, We should have a victory lap.
The Minister of Finance also gave his views of the unions and their recent protest marches. The minister says he does not believe that it is a you versus me situation or unions versus government situation.
Recent march from the different unions Yesterday, I had someone from the union approach me and asked for my opinion, and they also stated their opinion on the march. And I would like to say that, again, I do not believe this is a you versus me situation, and I also believe that on the union side, it's not a union versus government situation. I believe that this is a situation that has been built up, and currently, due to it could be the stress of COVID and other situations, that it has reached a boiling point. As you see that they are not only marching at the government building, they are also going to different entities. They are also not in agreement with how the Dutch conditions are being applied. So basically, the unions are also standing in support with the government, with the manner in which the conditions are being applied. So I would like to state again that this is not a you versus me thing or a union versus government. I understand the plight of the union and the people in terms of the conditions. And I will also say this, that on my end, I don't only represent the civil servants, I also represent the private sector, and I will have to make the unpopular decisions to ensure that we all can survive and we all could get as much support as possible. Cutting any type of salaries, vacation pay, or anything like this is not something that me as Minister of Finance would like to do, but if it ensures us to get the necessary liquidity support to support our brothers and sisters within the private sector, if it will ensure that we get the necessary liquidity support to continue to pay salaries for the rest of the year, I will then make the unpopular decisions with the Council of Ministers to make sure that we have continuity within the organization. I would also like to give notice to the hardworking civil servants within the Ministry of Finance who ensures that we all get paid on time. And I'd like to take a particular notice to the Department of Loan Salaries, headed by Ms. Bertel Felix. They are short-staffed and they are putting overtime to ensure that we get paid on time, that the vacation pay is handled. And I would like our fellow civil servants to understand that this is not a robot calculating. These are human beings at the Treasury Department, at the Salary Department that have to execute for hundreds of people that are short, and they are short staffed. And we will be working on the next couple of days on finding solutions for the staff and ensuring that they are able to continue operating on such a high level.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister the Honorable Sylvia Jacobs gave an elucidation on several issues of concern at the virtual Council of Ministers weekly press briefing today.
Firstly, I'd like to take the time to inform, and that segues right behind what our finance minister was just speaking of, that I, and by extension, the government of St. Martin, have been informed of a series of manifestations that are ongoing and have started earlier this week. Permission has been requested for those manifestations and they have been granted, as well as informing us as government of the willingness of members to partake in said meetings and manifestations. I have also responded via email just last evening, as I received 2 emails, one on Sunday and one on Monday night, related to the manifestations mentioned. My email response was that I am pleased with the unity being, I would like to mention here, that in my response, I have thanked them for the information, as well as hope that the information could be disseminated in a more timely fashion so that proper planning could be made in case persons would be negatively impacted, those looking for service, of course. In our varied meetings, we have had much discussions, and I am pleased to see the unity being displayed by the many unions on the island across the board. In our meetings with the same unions on many occasions, sometimes in different settings, but definitely with most of the same representatives, it was made clear that they and we are in solidarity with the challenges that we as Caribbean countries in the Kingdom are facing in this new reality, but that we've been facing over several years. It is good to see that the people of St. Martin can stand and have manifestations in a peaceful manner, also taking into consideration the current health situation and maintaining proper social distance. I must say I've seen great improvement in that over the past week. And I wish them much strength as together we continue to fight the fight. We fight from our corner, and of course the people show their solidarity in their manifestations that are ongoing. I also mentioned in my letter to the unions and their representatives mainly that I would look forward to further dialogue, as I believe dialogue is one of the main ways in which together we can come to solutions that would see all hands on deck in coming to solutions in this reality, in dealing with what we are currently dealing with. As such, the imposed conditions by the Kingdom government, which is as a result of our request for liquidity support in this new COVID-19 reality, whereby we've seen economies around the world being negatively affected. That is still being discussed between the relevant governments. As such, despite my request and appeal to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands and chair of said Kingdom government to ensure that we can foster dialogue between the entities, the different governments within the Kingdom in a very respectful manner, whereby whether we have differences or not, that this can be respected and the dialogue can continue. I have been basically sent back to the very same gesprekspartner, as they say in Dutch, so the person with which the government has delegated to have the discussions with the island countries in the Kingdom. And so the Ministry of BZK is still that part. I have also reached out to the Minister, Mrs. Ollengren herself, and have also been informed that State Secretary Knops is the person that has that portfolio. As such, this week we've seen that the State Secretary has made some statements in his response to Parliament pertaining to giving the countries and specifically St. Martin the opportunity as a new government sitting just 2 months, the opportunity now into 3 to be able to make good on some of the promises that have been made over several years, which we have inherited and have shown ourselves as being very serious about dealing with them. On the labor side, whereby we have already passed the pension law for civil servants, we are in the process of sending the AOV law to Parliament, as well as other reforms which have been pending for several years. The Minister of Justice is also, though not present here today, working diligently to bring some order into an area that has not been functioning up to standard, whereby we have been constantly let's say, over it matcha, pertaining to the prison, the detention, status of the detention facilities here on St. Martin. And while we have seen some improvement on the police cells, not enough in the prison itself, the House of Detention at Point Blanche. And our minister is working diligently within the organization and has accepted technical assistance as well in this respect. So I'm happy that there is recognition that this new government is ready to work together on all fronts to ensure that the basic rights of all the peoples of St. Martin can be secured. And we will continue to have discussions that hopefully will proceed in a respectful manner where that is concerned.
Now, turning to our weather forecast for June the 24th, 2020, the Atlantic high pressure system will maintain a gentle to moderate wind flow across the region. Meanwhile, varying concentrations of Saharan dust will continue to affect the region. Persons with allergies and or respiratory illnesses should continue to take the necessary precautions. Seas are expected to peak at 7 feet during the next few days. Small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise caution. So the outlook through Friday midday, partly cloudy, hazy, and breezy with passing showers possible. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Minister of TEAT confirms the return of international flights to the island on July the 2nd. We'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And as we continue now with more news, Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunications, the Honorable Ludmila de Wever, she has announced the reopening of the island on July the 1st to receive international visitors. The announcement was made at the virtual Council of Ministers weekly press briefing this morning.
Here on our local platform as well, that we are open as of, just to reiterate, as of June 11th, we were open to Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, Saba, Statia, St. Bart's, Guadeloupe, Martinique, and Anguilla. It was open for nationals and non-nationals as long as you were in those countries for 14 days. When it comes on June 22nd, we opened to St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Lucia, and the British Virgin Islands. The same requirements hold. You would have had to been in those countries or islands for 14 days prior to travel. It's open travel for nationals and non-nationals. As of July 1st, we announced that we are opening the airport. The first flight is scheduled to come in on July 2nd with 75 passengers. That may change because of the fact that we are now requiring PCR testing to be done in advance of travel to St. Martin. What I would like here to clarify as well is that the PCR test results are required to have been received in your hands within 72 hours of travel. So if you called your doctor up and on, let's say, 5 days before travel, and they said you need 3 days turnaround time, you will have it within the 72 hours window. It is not that you have to take the test the 3 days prior to travel. So it's just one thing I need to clarify. We will continue, doing a media blitz, going out there, explaining to everyone that you are not expected to perform your test in 72 hours before travel. You are expected to receive your results in 72 hours before travel. But we will, between the Ministry of ASA and, through the Tourism Office and the airport and all other stakeholders, we will constantly be updating you. The travel requirements will continuously be updated as we get more information from the Ministry of Public Health, as the conditions in the world change. So I ask the public and our visitors who are watching to please have patience with us. We are just trying to keep our island safe and our visitors safe.
And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM News for this evening. I am Valerie from Putin, thanking you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.